Hello, hello. Happy Monday. Have a few reminders about voting and election day. Rise up and vote, Louisiana. So we are currently 35 days until the November 5th election. And so I want to come on and ask some very important questions. Number one, do you have a voting plan? A voting plan is a plan to vote on election day, whether you're going to vote on election day or if you're going to vote early. Early voting runs from October 18th through October 29th. So having a plan to vote is knowing when you're going to vote. That's if you're going to vote early or if you're going to vote on election day. Having a plan to vote means you know how you're going to get to the polls and vote, whether you're voting early or if you're voting on election day, whether you vote in absentee. However that's going to be, having a plan is just knowing exactly how you're going to cast your ballot on election day, or if you're not going to wait until election day, if you're going to vote early, or if you're going to absentee vote. So having a plan is knowing all of that. Have you checked your voter registration? I encourage you to check your voter registration just to make sure that you are still active. Even if you vote in every election, even if you are considered what they call a super voter, you still want to make sure that your voter registration is active, because there are states, and Louisiana is one of them, that are purging voters from the voter rolls. So although you vote in every election, you may think, well, I vote all the time, I don't have anything to worry about. Still, just check your voter registration just to make sure that you are still active on the rolls. So that is also part of having a plan, making sure that you're active. Make sure that you have an identification card when you go to vote. When you show up to the polls and vote, if you don't have an identification card, you probably won't be able to vote. So make sure that you have an identification card and make sure that it is valid. Make sure your driver's license or your ID or your passport or whatever you use, whatever type of photo ID you use, make sure that it is valid. Make sure that it is not expired. A lot of times, we come on our birthday, we have to renew our driver's license, our ID card, and we don't even realize that our ID card is expired. So I encourage you to check your ID card or your driver's license. Make sure that it's not expired when you go to the polls and vote. So all of that is part of having a voting plan. Making sure you know when you're going to vote, whether it's going to be early or on election day, whether you're going to absentee vote. You don't need a reason to vote early. I try to stress the importance of this to people because a lot of times we're just used to voting on election day, and presidential elections are held on a Tuesday. And it's not a federal holiday. So a lot of people are working on a Tuesday. A lot of people are working on election day. So if you can vote early between October 18th and October 29th. Polls open at 8:30 a.m. and they stay open until 6 o'clock p.m. So if you're not sure that you're going to be able to vote on election day, which is November 5th, I highly encourage you to vote early on those dates. So all of that is part of having a voting plan. So I just want to come on and encourage people to make sure that you have a plan to vote. Also, if you have not registered to vote, the last day to register to vote online or in person using a voter application form is next Monday, which is October 7th. So you have exactly 1 week to get registered. So if you're not registered to vote, or if you know anyone that is not registered to vote, if you know a young person that is 17 that will be 18 by the time of the election in November, they can register to vote. So you can register at 17. You don't have to wait until you're 18. That's only if you're going to be 18 by the time of election day. So if you know a young person that's currently 17, but they're going to be 18 by November 5th, please encourage them to register to vote. Help them to get registered to vote. Help them to register to vote. So I'm calling on the young people, the old people, and a lot of times we think it's just the young folks that do not vote. the young folks that's not registered, the young folks that do not update their registration. But it's the older generation as well. If you know me, you know I do voter outreach. I'm doing voter registration out in the community. And a lot of times I'm registering people that are way over 60 years of age. And they are talking about, well, I don't vote. My vote don't count. You know, all the things we expect to hear from the younger generation. So how are the younger generation going to have an example or be led to vote, which is something that we must do because we have a right to vote, and it is our moral and civic responsibility to do that. So, you know, a lot of times we think it's the young people, but in reality, it's the older people as well. I'm registering people that are over 60 and 70 years of age that says they just give up on voting. So I encourage everyone to be registered. I encourage everyone to not only be registered, but go out and vote, because the issue we have here in Louisiana, we have a lot of people that are registered voters. The majority of our state are registered. The only issue is we just don't go out and vote on election day. So I encourage you to not only register to vote, but actually go out and vote. Make sure you have a voter plan. And make sure you're encouraging other people to vote, because a lot of times, you know, we just think that our vote don't count for whatever reason. And I get that all the time. And don't get me wrong, I identify with your frustration for those of you that say, you know, well, my vote don't count. And there's a number of reasons. But the main concern I hear from people around thinking that their vote don't count is because they don't see any visible change in their communities, a lack of visible improvement, a lack of visible change. So when you know, year after year after year, and you're not seeing any improvement, then that is a reason to be frustrated. That is a reason to not want to continue to participate in the political process. But I encourage you, I urge you to not give up on your voting. Cast your ballot, because your vote does count and it does make a difference. And I tell people all the time, if everybody thinks like you, if you think that your vote don't count and you say, well, my vote don't count, it's not going to make a difference. And if everybody's thinking that way, then guess what? Nobody is voting. Nobody is exercising their right to vote. So I encourage you to not abandon the political process, the voting process, because it does work. And if everybody's saying that their vote don't count and you're not going to the polls, then you're not going to see a change. We have to all be involved in this process together. We can't do this alone. All the progress that we've made over the years, it did not come by us doing this work alone. It takes a collective effort. So those that complain and say, well, I don't see any changes, that my vote don't count. And then I ask them, well, what are you doing to contribute to this change? And that goes hand in hand with the book that I just released, Sacred Civic Action, Quick Guide to Engaging in Civic Life, because I hear a lot of people complaining, and it's okay to be frustrated, because I've been frustrated as well. But right now I'm more energized more than ever, because I understand that, you know, what we're up against. I understand that there are so many that are trying to suppress our vote. And if you only knew why they are working so hard, you know, those that are against us, those that are against people of color, particularly from voting, it's because they know the power that we have. Those that are against us know the power that we have. But the issue is we don't know the power that we have. So if we don't know that we have power, if we don't know the political power that we have when we vote, because our vote is our voice. And if we don't know that, then, I mean, what can we say? So we have to know the power that we have, and that power is through our vote. And it's not only through our vote. When we vote, we have to also stay engaged, stay connected, stay involved in the process. We can't just vote and then just say, okay, I'm just going to wait until it's time to vote again. If you do vote for the next 2, 3, 4 years. No, we have to be involved. We have to hold those accountable who we put in office. You have to know who you are voting for. You have to know who you are putting in office. So we can't just say that, oh, okay, I voted and that's enough, because it's really not. And that's really why we don't seem to see the change that we really want to see in our communities, because we're not holding those elected officials accountable who we put in office. If we even know who we're putting in office, if we even know who we're voting for. And it's not just enough to just vote for somebody because you saw a sign on side the road or you heard somebody say, well, they're a good person. Do your research. All of these candidates who are running for office in the race, you can go and do your own research. You can go to their websites. You can go to their social media platforms. You can go and find out about these people. I mean, you're not going to find out everything just based on their social media platform or what's on their website or even what they're saying in their campaign speeches or when they're doing interviews. But just pay attention. Just pay attention to the people that you are supporting, the people that you want to see in office. And if they're not doing what they say they're going to do, then it's up to us to put other people in place who we believe that's going to do the job. And we don't know until we give them a chance. So we have to at least give them a chance. So don't just give up on the process when you haven't even participated in the process. And that's what I see a lot of people come and tell me. They're saying their vote don't count, that they don't see anything changing, but you're not even participating in the process. Like, you can't come to me and say that your vote don't count, you're not seeing any improvement when you're not participating at all. You have to be a part of the process. In order to see our communities flourish, we have to be engaged. We have to be part of the process. And I like to ask people, like, when was the last time you volunteered? When was the last time you did anything positive in your community? And oftentimes I get they haven't. They haven't volunteered. They haven't contributed in a positive way to their community. And I get the question all the time for those that want to be involved, that want to be engaged. They say, well, what can I do to be engaged? What can I do to be involved? I don't even understand the political process. And that's okay if you don't understand. But we have to first be self-aware. We have to come to this self-awareness to where we say and be real with ourselves. Okay, I don't understand this process. But just because you don't understand it, don't mean you can't learn it. There was a point when I didn't understand it either, but I made sure that I got the education that I need. I did the research so that I can be able to be informed and be better informed citizen on the decisions that I make as it pertains to the political process. Because if we stay ignorant to the process, then how can we participate? We cannot participate in a process that we don't understand. So that's why I wrote the book, Sacred Civic Action, Quick Guide to Engaging in Civic Life, because I hear so many people say that they want to be involved, that they want to be engaged, especially young people. Young people tell me all the time they want to be involved, but they just don't know how. So I wrote the book to be able to help people to be informed and be engaged. And it just starts with education. A lot of times it starts with a basic civics lesson. I talk about in the book, Civics 101, I talk about voting in elections. And the book just isn't about voting in elections, although I do talk about voting in elections in the book because that is a part of the political process. But if you want to know something, if you want to learn, then you have to do the work. You have to be educated. You can educate yourselves. You can attend workshops and seminars and conferences, and be able to be informed and be engaged, attend virtual meetings online. There's all type of virtual education that's going around that's helping people to be more civically engaged, that's nonpartisan, that's not trying to sway you to vote one way or the other, or not trying to sway you to vote for a particular candidate. There's all type of information out there, but you have to prioritize what it is that's important to you. Don't say that this is important to you, your community is important to you when you're not involved in the political process. And we can't just continue to just blame it on the people that we elect to public office. Yeah, they are, I'm not going to say to blame because I don't like to blame anybody, but they are part of the process. They are part of what we're seeing. If we're not seeing any improvement, and again, the number one concern I hear from people who say that they've checked out of the political process, a lot of voter apathy. And I don't even think that we're apathetic about it. We're just frustrated that we're not seeing the change that we want to see. But we have to be a part of the change we want to see. If you haven't done anything to be engaged and be involved, and you're just on the sidelines looking in, on the outside looking in, and you're not being involved, then how can you say that, you don't want to be a part of this process when you have not contributed to the process at all? So, it's not hard being involved, and you don't have to be a political person. I hear people say, well, I don't do politics. But guess what? You don't have to do politics, but politics will do you. because there are decisions being made every single day, every single hour about you and your life and your family. So for you to say that you don't do politics, that's saying that you don't care about what happens to you. You don't care about what happens to your family. You don't care about what happens to future generations that's coming behind us, because everything that's happening right now, all the laws that's being made, everything that you're hearing about in the news, it's going to affect future generations. So for you to say that I'm not political and I don't do politics, I don't have anything to do with that, then that's saying that you don't care about you don't care about your family, and you don't care about the future generation that is coming behind us. Being involved in your civic responsibility is a moral responsibility. It's something that we all have a responsibility to do. And if you don't know something, then you can learn it. It's okay if you don't know. And that's part of the reason I wrote the book, Sacred Civic Action, to be able to inform and engage and empower people to take part in the political process, to take part of their civic life. So the book is not just about politics. It's not just about voting and elections. But I do want to read just something in the book here that I have on voting and elections. Since this is election season, I am talking about voting, putting out some very important information out here about voting and elections, because we have to be a part of the process. We can't just sit on the sidelines and say, oh, they have to do it, or no, we all have to be a part of the process. We have to be the change that we want to see in the world. And if we're not a part of the change, then it's going to be hard for us to see any change, because we all have to be a part of that process. And especially for those who are people of faith, people that are in the church, people that love Jesus, that that are part of the church. This is part of your sacred civic action to be a part of the political process, because in the Bible in the Old Testament and the New Testament gives examples of how Jesus was involved in the political process. And when I hear people say, well, I'm not into all that politics, I love Jesus, I care about Jesus, leave me out of all that. But I will respond to that by saying that Jesus was for the people, and politics is all about the people. So we can't say that we love Jesus, we love God, when we are not a part of this process. Because throughout Jesus' ministry, he was healing the sick, he was feeding the hungry, he was clothing those that didn't have anything to wear. So Jesus was for those who were the least and the left out. The least of these. Jesus said, what you do for one, you doing it for me. You do for the least of these. So we can't say that we don't do politics, that we can't be involved, and we still love Jesus, we still love God. No, sacred civic action is about our civic responsibility as a person of faith, as a woman of faith, as a man of faith. Okay? So we have to be involved in this process. So let me get to what I wanted to read in the book right here. Okay, I'm just going to read this top paragraph right here. So voter suppression is real. This is not just something in the past when they tried to suppress the vote for people of color. It is real and it's well and alive in 2024. There is a constant fight to maintain our voting rights. This is why we can't just sit back and watch our democracy be dismantled. We have to do more than just vote. We must also stay engaged and work to protect the vote. So not only must we vote, but we got to make sure that we protect the freedoms that we already have. We have to make sure that we protect our right to vote, because if we don't protect it, we can lose it. For those of you that may not know, there was a period in the history of this country where we did not have a right to vote, where people of color didn't have a right to vote, where women didn't have a right to vote. Black women didn't have a right to vote. So this right that we have to vote, we didn't always have this. Okay. So we must also, I read that voter suppression tactics disproportionately affect minorities, the elderly, students, and low-income individuals, undermining the principle of equal representation. So we have to make sure that we not only vote, but we are working to protect the vote that we already have. We are working to protect the freedoms that we have, because if we don't protect it, we can lose it. Okay, I think that's all I wanted to read from the book. And I just want to read one more part from the book. So, GOTV, get out the vote. And when we hear GOTV, get out the vote, that doesn't mean other people and other organizations. This is something that you can do. If it's no more than making sure that your family is registered to vote, if it's no more than making sure, people that you work with, people that you go to school with, your neighbors, people in your community, because this concept of sacred civic action, which I embrace, is much more than a book. The name of the book is Sacred Civic Action, Quick Guide to Engaging in Civic Life. But the concept of sacred civic action is so much more than a book. It is a philosophy that I embrace and that I live by because it works. Because when we give, when we serve, we're gonna prosper. We're gonna flourish. I love Proverbs 11:25. One of my favorite scriptures. It says, "The generous will prosper." The generous will prosper, and when we refresh others, we ourselves will then be refreshed. When we refresh others, we will be refreshed. So that means people that are generous means giving back to the community, giving back, serving others, and serving God. We're going to be refreshed. We're going to prosper. So this concept of sacred civic action, it works for me. Like, I don't just talk about this just to be talking about it. I talk about it. I embrace it because it works. When we are generous, we prosper. So I wanted to read the Get Out the Vote part of the book. This is just one little paragraph I'm going to read. Registering to vote is only one part of getting ready to vote. People should exercise their right to vote for several reasons. Voting gives citizens a chance to choose their government leaders. It also gives them an opportunity to voice their opinion on the past performance of public officials. If the voters are dissatisfied, they can elect new leaders. Voting also allows citizens to express their opinions in public issues. So that just talks about the when you go to cast your ballot on election day. So this gives some information about get out the vote. Okay, I have an election glossary in here as well. So I'm going to read some of these definitions that's in here. I'm not going to read them all, but some terms that we may hear often, we may hear them in conversations. We may hear them in the news. So I'm just going to give a few key terms in the meaning that I have here outlined in the book. So a conservative is a person who believes in a limited government that should act only when individuals and private groups cannot. Conservatives favor limits on all taxes and social spending. So normally a conservative is a person who is a Republican, who is registered as a Republican, that votes as a Republican and have Republican views. So when you hear people talk about the conservatives, they're usually talking about the Republicans, okay? A Democrat is a member of the Democratic Party, one of two major parties that dominate U.S. politics. Democrats generally support social reform and international cooperation in foreign affairs. So when you hear them talk about Democrats, did I have liberal? I want to read liberal rather than Democrat. Okay, so liberal, because a liberal is normally considered a Democrat and conservative is normally considered a Republican. So I want to read the definition for liberal. Is a person who believes government should take direct responsibility for solving social problems such as providing health care and helping the needy. So normally liberals, which are Democrats, they are normally for more government spending, which the conservatives, which are usually the Republicans, are not for more government spending. So when you hear the opposition and the feuding against Republicans and Democrats, is because conservatives want a smaller government and the liberals, which are the Democrats, want bigger government. They want more government spending. They believe that the government should take care of those who really can't take care of themselves. And not only that, because we all pay taxes. So if we're paying taxes, the liberals and the Democrats believe that as tax-paying citizens, we should be afforded opportunities to have benefits and resources that are paid for by our tax dollars. So when you hear the feud and the opposition and the debates around conservatism and and the liberals is because the liberals, which are the Democrats, want more government spending, believe the government should be providing more funding and resources to take care of the people as a whole, as a society, which the conservatives, which are usually the Republicans, they don't want a big government. They want to cut back on government. And if you heard anything about Project 2025, that is a conservative agenda. So when you hear about the conservatives and the Project 2025 agenda is because the conservatives want to cut back spending. They don't want a big government. They don't think the government should be taking care of the entire country, although we pay taxes. So when you hear the debate around conservative and liberal, that's what that means. I'm also going to read one more definition, one more term. Okay, because even for majority and minority, some people don't even understand those terms. And I don't even like to use the term minority because when you hear the term minority, it refers to people of color, such as black people, such as Latino people. But majority, which is considered greater than half, they're normally talking about the Europeans. But in reality, people of color are not the minority in this country anymore, and we are becoming the majority. So I don't even like to use that term minority, but there's still a lot of people that use it, a lot of politicians, a lot of people you'll hear in their conversations, they use the term minority, and that means less than half, and they're usually referring to people of color. I don't like that term because we are not the minority in this country anymore. And that is part of the reason why there is a push so hard to suppress our vote. Because if we all vote, if we all knew the power that we had, if we all rised up and vote and be involved, be engaged, be informed citizens, then the power we have, we can do some things, but we have to first come to that self-awareness that we do have power and that the power is in our vote, and not only in our vote, but being engaged, being educated, being informed. And again, I think it starts with a basic civics lesson. I like to do this pop quiz oftentimes when I'm out doing voter outreach. Not even out doing voter outreach. I just like to walk up on people and ask them, can you name for me the 3 branches of government? And a lot of times people, they don't even know. And that's part of a research study that shows that only 1 in 4 persons can name the 3 branches of government. This is like a basic civics lesson, something that we should have learned in civics if we took civics. And if we took civics, it's probably been a long time ago. So that's why I share in the book, I give a basic civics lesson. But the 3 branches of government are the executive branch, the judicial branch, and the legislative branch. But the average person don't know that. When I roll up on people and ask them, name the 3 branches of government, they look dumbfounded. They don't have a clue. So that goes back to how can we participate in a process that we are ignorant on, that we don't even understand how this process works. But it doesn't have to stay that way. We do not have to stay ignorant of this process, okay? We can be educated. We can be informed. We can be informed citizens and know how this process works. So not only do I share all that information in the book, I also, because this book really is a call to action, because I don't want you to just be educated and be an informed citizen without actually doing the work. We have to take action, okay? So there is a call to action that I have in the book. I'm just going to share a few of the actions that I have. And one of my call to actions is participating in research. I talk about here, I start off the call to action part talking about participating in research, because I am a research coordinator and I coordinate on research projects. And the most recent one before me and now, it was a COVID-19 research study that we did when we provided education to the community around helping to prevent the spread of COVID-19. Such an informative research project. I really loved it. One of the best research projects I've been on, because we was conducting this research right in the middle of the pandemic. Like we were engaging the community members, giving them money to do it, which a lot of them, their motivation for participating was getting the money because they were able to earn up to $200. But the information that they received was so good, because there was so much, and it's still out there, so much disinformation, misinformation about COVID-19 and the pandemic, and just so much information out there on the internet, and just people just didn't know what to believe. People were losing loved ones. It was just so much. People were getting sick. People were testing positive for COVID multiple times, and they just didn't know what to believe. So this research project, where we were partnered with the University of Chicago, We were able to conduct some interventions, teach some classes around how to help prevent the spread, give people reliable information, credible information on how to keep themselves safe and how to keep their families safe. So I love this research. I encourage people to participate in research because as people of color, we usually don't participate in research. For some reason, I don't know. I don't know if we think if we participate in research that something is going to happen, something negative I don't know. But it's so important because research helps us to discover new information, to get new knowledge, to be able to discover new treatments, to be able to come up with new ways to treat people. So, and that's what research is about. Discovering new knowledge, getting new information. So when we participate in these research projects, it helps us to be able to get new information to help us as a community, as people of color. Because a lot of researchers out there, the information that they have, the findings that they have is based on not people of color. It's based on people that have participated in the research. Even with these polls that you see during election, when you see these pollings, it's not information that they receive from people of color. It's information from other people, that white Americans who participate, and that's where they get their information from. So I encourage people that it's so important that we participate in research. So that's one of the call to actions, is participating in research, because I love it as a research coordinator. I love to be able to connect with the community. I love to be able to educate the community. And a lot of these people, especially with the COVID-19 research study that we did, a lot of people had never, and it was majority people of color that participated, but they had never participated in a research study before. So that was just, something amazing to see, in how they were so excited about participating. Again, money is a motivator. I know a lot of them initially signed up for it because they were able to earn cash money. We was giving them cash money once they completed the intervention. But all in all, they did participate and they completed it. There was a follow-up, a 30-day follow-up. They had to come back in a 60-day follow-up and to share if anything changed about what they knew about COVID prior to coming into the intervention and what they had learned after the 30 and 60 days. So there was a follow-up. So it was just an amazing research study to do, especially in the Black community in Baton Rouge and surrounding areas. So we're still waiting to get the findings and the outcome of that research. But once it is completed and published, I'm going to share it with the public. So that is part of the call to action I have. Also, voting and electoral participation, that's voting. I have community volunteering and service, advocacy and activism, public education and awareness, building community networks, supporting local economy and initiatives. I'm just going to give an example of one of those with public education and awareness. For example, create and share content. Use social media, blogs, or local media to share information and raise awareness. Kind of like what I'm doing today. I'm doing a Facebook Live, sharing some important information about voting and elections. So that brings public education and awareness. Hosting informational sessions to organize workshops, panels, or town halls to educate your community around important issues. Teach civic education. I'm currently working on a master class around civic education to inform the community, to bring public education and awareness around civic education. So volunteer to teach or support civic education programs in schools or community centers. So all of that is part of taking action, being a part of the process, okay? And digital civic engagement, online campaigns, using digital platforms to organize and promote campaigns on social and political issues, virtual volunteering. You don't just have to show up and volunteer in person. We do a lot of stuff online now. A lot of things are digital. So offer your skills remotely to organizations that need support, such as tutoring, graphic design, or administrative work. Right now, we're currently running a Rise Up and Vote campaign where we need volunteers to help with phone banking. So if that's something that you're interested in, even if you've never phone banked before, I have a phone bank training that I've done is a video that you can look at. It's not anything that's hard at all. You can look at the video, and from the video, learn how to do phone banking. Everything is done through an app, so you're not calling people from your personal number. You're doing everything through an app. So, and it's really fun to be able to engage people, make phone calls, and just remind folks to get out and vote. We just yesterday did a postcard writing to send to voters to remind them about the upcoming election. So there's all types of ways that you can get involved. But again, if phone banking is something that you may be interested in, contact me, direct message me, or you can go to the website and sign up. There is a sign up form for you to sign up. And there's other volunteer opportunities as well, but you can go to the website www.allthingscynthiayoung.com, or you can probably scroll down my Facebook page and you can find the link there to sign up to volunteer as a phone banker. So yeah, we're currently running that Rise Up and Vote campaign right now as I speak. I'm going to be making some phone calls this evening and throughout early voting and throughout the November 5th election, just to remind people, because it makes a difference when we have that one-to-one voter contact, when we're making the phone calls, when we're doing door-to-door, knocking on their doors, informing voters around making sure they get out to vote. Because even though they're registered to vote and we hear everything that's going on, they may get discouraged and don't even want to vote. So we want to encourage people to get out and vote, and making that direct contact through telephone conversation, through text messaging, through door-to-door knocking. All that works. It really does work. I've been doing Get Out the Vote work for over 10 years now, and it really does make a difference. And even the community will tell you that it makes a difference. They'll be like, well, nobody ever called me. Nobody ever knocked on my door and even asked for my vote. And we are nonpartisan. I want to put that out there as well. We are nonpartisan, so we're not out there endorsing any particular candidate. We're not telling people to vote for this or that candidate. We just want people to vote. So you vote however you want to vote. I don't know if you're a Democrat. I don't know if you're a Republican. I don't know if you're independent. And it really does not matter. I just want people to vote because the data shows in Louisiana that we have the registered voters. Even though we want to get to 100%. That's a stretch. But we do have more than half of the state are registered voters. They just don't show up on election day. So that's what we need to change. We need to make sure that people are actually getting out the vote, okay? So at the end of the book, I also have a frequently asked questions about civic action. So I'm going to read just one of those questions. I have some resources at the end with some websites, some podcasts to subscribe to, some books to read. So I have all that in my new book, Sacred Civic Action, Quick Guide to Engaging in Civic Life. So I'm going to read one of the frequently asked questions about civic action. So why is civic action important? Civic action is crucial for the functioning of a democracy and the health of a society. It ensures that diverse voices are heard, promotes social justice, holds leaders accountable, and fosters a sense of community and collective responsibility. So that's why civic action is important. It is so important that we exercise our right to vote and that we participate in our civic duties, because it does make a difference. So again, that's from my new book, Sacred Civic Action, Quick Guide to Engaging in Civic Life. If you want to get a copy, you can go to the website and purchase a copy. You can also go to Amazon and Barnes & Noble and get a copy of the book. Again, that's Sacred Civic Action, Quick Guide to Engaging in Civic Life. So if you want to be part of making some positive change in your community, you want to contribute in a positive way to make a meaningful impact in your community, then this serves as a guide to help you do that. It's a source of inspiration, it's a source of empowerment, and it really will help you to be a part of that catalyst for change in your community, if that is something that you want to do. Because again, I hear all the time people say they want to be involved, they want to be engaged, but they just don't know where to start. This book here, it is a guidebook. It will show you. It helps you to be able to do just that. So, well, I was on here a little longer than I intended to be. I just wanted to come and share some updates about the upcoming election and voting. But I just wanted to really get out that information to y'all about how important it is that we get out the vote, that we not only register to vote, but we actually show up to the polls on election day. And you can also, right now, you can get see who's on your ballot. You can go to govote.com, or is it govote.org? GEAUX, vote, VOTE. I think it's .org in Louisiana. If that's not it, you can go to the Louisiana Secretaries of State website. That's Louisiana Secretary of State website, but I think it's govote.org, O-R-G. Or download the GoVote app. Yeah, that's even better. Download the app. It's a little icon with a little Louisiana boot, and it is a good app. You can see who everybody's that's on your ballot. You can see any ballot measures that's on there that we're voting for the upcoming election. So that's a really good app. Give you any information you need. Give you polling place information, what time the polling place opens and closes. If you're not voting on election day, then there are several locations that you can vote in your city. And you can go to any one of those. You can go on Essen Lane to the Louisiana Archives building. You can go, I normally go on Coursey Boulevard to the voter registrar's office on Coursey Boulevard, right next to the fire station. That's why I normally early vote. And I do usually early vote again. I encourage you to early vote. Don't wait for election. Don't wait for November 5th. You don't know, anything may come up on November 5th where you're not able to actually go to the poll. So I encourage you to early vote. Early vote is October 18th. October 18th through October 29th. So I encourage you to early vote. So that's all I have. If anybody have any questions about anything that I shared on this Facebook Live today, you can drop it in the comment section. You can direct message me if you have any questions that you don't want to make public. But yeah, I went a little longer than I intended to, but I really want to get this information out. And I'll probably do some more Facebook Lives between now and Election Day, because it is so important that we get out this vote. Again, we're nonpartisan. I don't endorse any particular candidate. You won't see on my timeline who I'm voting for, because that doesn't matter. I just want you to vote. If you vote independently, that's fine too. Just want you to exercise your right to vote, because it's so important that we are engaged and we are a part of the political process. Okay? So that's all I have for today. Again, if you have any questions, drop it in the comment section, or you can direct message me. Again, I'm currently creating a masterclass that's around this topic that I'm talking about today, to educate folks around civic engagement and how to be involved in like a lot of principles that I share in this book. I'm creating a masterclass to accompany this book that I wrote, so I can teach the importance of our sacred civic action. Okay, so again, you can get a copy of my new book, Sacred Civic Action, Quick Guide to Engaging in Civic Life. You can go to Amazon.com, you can go to Barnes & Noble, or you can go to the website www.allthingscynthiayoung.com. This is Cynthia Young. It's been good talking to you. Y'all take care and be blessed. And y'all have an amazing week. Bye-bye. Talk to y'all soon.